I'm your host, Jan Apro, and this is Waycross Community Forum. My guests today are Chris Berry, Vice President, and Chuck Black, historian of the Balladeers, Queen City Balladeers program. And that's our topic today, the Queen City Balladeers. When and where and who started QCB?
Balladeers.
Oh, Balladeers. I'm sorry. What do they call them? Balladeers?
Balladeers.
Balladeers.
Yes.
That's what you wear across your
Oh, well, you know, Balladeers.
Right.
I'm
Now,
sorry.
we are the Queen City Balladeers. And by the way, we are both vice presidents in the organization. Does that add up to a president?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Anyway.
So when, where, and who started QCB?
Well, Jan, the Queen City Balladeers began in 1963. It was started by a group of students from the University of Cincinnati. And at that time, folk music was riding high. It was the height, and it wasn't the beginning of the folk revival. It was kind of the top of the folk revival. That was, things had really taken off. And a group of 7 University of Cincinnati students got together, decided they wanted to start a club to get together to play music and sing together and all that. So they did. And they kind of formalized it. They formed an organization. They wrote bylaws. They elected officers. And so with the start of the school year in 1963, the Queen City Balladeers was born.
Great. Well, you know, now were these students of the conservatory, or were they just UC students?
They were students in a lot of different programs. I mean,
Okay.
they were in, arts and sciences and architecture and education. And it was just kind of a general mixture of people, but they had one thing in common. They all loved folk music.
You know, that's an important factor, because you would think that a group from the Conservatory of Music or musicians would come up with something like this. And here are young people from every walks of life, every type of education that they're going to have, and they form this thing. And that is outstanding in itself.
Well, and that's right. And it was at the university that they all came together. Some of them knew one another before they went there, but some of them didn't. And they all sort of linked up, and that's when it got started.
Oh, wow.
I think that speaks to the importance and the impact of folk music upon our generation.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to get into that, too, because, all right, what does the QCB do? Just exactly what do you folks do?
Well, we're a music club with over 200 members, and we're dedicated to the promotion and preservation of acoustic music in all its forms. Traditional jazz, blues, Americana, roots, bluegrass, singer-songwriters. We've got many singer-songwriters in our group. And we just like to practice music, and we like to see local and regional performers and encourage them in their careers. And we want to make sure that this valuable music is shared with the future generations.
Oh, well.
And also what we do is we sponsor a coffee house. Every Sunday night, we start really on the first Sunday of September. We go all the way through until the following May, the last Sunday of May. Open to the public, have music there. Then in the summertime, we sponsor 4 concerts. The last couple of years, we've been at the Cincinnati Art Museum. They're free and open to the public. And those are the main things that we do. Wouldn't you say, Chris?
Right. The Leo Coffee House is also open to the public, and it's been going on for 50 years.
Okay.
The summer
What
concerts
actually,
are 50
Chris,
years too.
what actually is a Leo Coffee House? What is it? You know.
Well, Chuck can tell you about the origin of the Leo Coffee House, because he was really there at the time.
Well, actually, that's true. The Leo Coffee House is a meeting of musicians, you might say, but it's very much like a club. People come together to play music and to listen to one another and to share ideas, but it started at the YMCA on Calhoun Street near the university in 1963. And from there, stayed there for a lot of years, and then it went on to St. Francis St. George Church, which also was down on Calhoun Street. And then about, 2005 or 6, moved to a church in Norwood. Mm-hmm. And the last couple of years, we had to move again for certain reasons, and we are now at the
Mount Healthy United Methodist Church at 7612 Perry Street in Cincinnati.
That is on the corner of Perry and Compton
Yes,
and Mount Healthy.
corner of Perry and Compton.
Gee, how did I know that? Well, because I live up in that
because
area.
you live in that area.
that's the way.
Okay, okay, Jan.
Okay, what do you mean by approximately 34 coffee houses per season?
Well, that's the current season is starting on September 7th, and it goes every Sunday night. There's a coffee house, and it ends at the end of May. So if you count each Sunday, there are approximately 34 or 35 coffee houses per year.
So in other words, Chuck, the coffee house is actually the performance.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
And we take 2 weeks off at Christmas, well, for the year-end holidays, we do that. Once in a while, there might be an event that the church sponsors, so we can't operate during that time.
Oh, yeah.
But if you add them all up from the first one to the last one at the end of the season, there'll be 34 this year.
Okay. Now, that brings up another good point. You said that the one was going to start on September 7th.
Correct.
How do people find out, or do you have some way they can find out about the scheduling of these performances to come?
Yes, we have a very wonderful webmaster, Eric Hansen, and he is posting our schedule as we speak.
Okay.
The website is www.queencityballadeers.org, and you can look up the schedule and get links to the performers and learn all you need from that.
Yeah, pretty much anything you need to know or you want to know about the Queen City Balladeers, just go to the website and it's right there. Schedules, addresses, just anything at all.
Phone numbers.
Yeah.
Phone numbers, exactly.
Well, because that would be important, because you know when you say you're going to have 34 of these, where, when, what time, and so on and so forth, because this is what I think people have got to be interested in, is that this is what we're going to be doing, this is what you're doing. Okay, now, when you talk about the location, you said, Chuck, that the present one is the Mount Healthy Methodist Church.
United Methodist.
United Methodist Church. Are there any other places other than that right now that you will be going to with other sessions?
Well, we have the coffee house. It'll be in the same place all year long.
Okay, so that's the 34 program.
That's correct. Yeah, the other places were simply back in the day. We started at one place and had to move for whatever reason and moved again and so forth.
Well, you grow.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that's
anyway,
one of
we've ended up where we've ended up, and that's where the coffee house will be held every Sunday night. From the music starts, the scheduled music starts at 7 o'clock, 7 to 9 o'clock,
Okay.
every Sunday night.
The informal jam sessions, like the song circle, where anybody can bring any instrument or just their voice, they start at 5:30, and you have the opportunity to stay and sing in that circle till 9.
Oh.
There's a guitar slingers group, at least that's what I call them, where they play only guitar. And there's a Celtic jam every week, which also starts about
Really?
that time.
Are
So
these-
bring your Celtic instruments.
So does that include bagpipes and all that? Good
That would be fine.
Anything you can bring in. You can
Yep.
bring spoons, you can bring pots and pans.
Gee, I can remember
A
I used to
kazoo.
play a comb when
There
I was
you
a
go.
kid.
Comb would
How
be
about
great.
a kazoo?
Tissue
Yeah.
paper and a comb, yeah. But the main thing to remember is everyone is welcome. And you don't need to play an instrument. Your voice is an instrument.
Oh, absolutely.
You can sit, you can join in the song circle, and be a part of the Queen City Balladeers and the Leo Coffee House.
And kids are invited. We have room
Absolutely.
for dancing, and we have room for bouncing around and singing. Also, we have volunteers bring in refreshments every week. So it is a place where you can put on a few pounds when all the cookies and cakes show up, and we get free coffee donated by the Coffee Emporium.
Well, you know, that brings, when you bring up that situation about kids and everything else, that sounds really good, because this could be a family situation.
It absolutely is.
Definitely.
It doesn't
is.
have to be the adults who are playing an instrument or anything else, but it could be a family that comes in with their kids to get their kids educated on
Right.
the folk music.
It
Okay.
is very much a family event.
Oh, that's great. And I like the timing too. You know, 7 to 9, that's plenty of time for the kids to go home and get to bed before school the next day.
Right.
That's
And while we say 7 to 9, that's the scheduled music. About 5:30, there will be a song circle or a jam session, whatever you want to call it, and anybody's welcome to come and join in that. We sit in a big circle, we go around, we take turns, we pick songs, we play our instruments, and that goes until about 7 o'clock. And then the scheduled music begins.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
We also have a songwriters collaborative that meets the second Sunday of every month, and they start at 5:30 and go till 7. And this is a group of all ages who are learning how to write their own songs. So that's just always a privilege. And sometimes the singer-songwriters bring their songs down and perform them at the Leo Coffee House.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm sorry.
Open mic.
Open mic?
Every first and third Sunday, our first act is always an open mic.
Oh.
So you can come and sign up and perform.
Sign up and you can get up and sing. Did we mention volunteers?
No, not yet.
Should we mention volunteers?
We're going to get to the
All right.
volunteers.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Does the QCB have any sponsors?
Yes, we
Several.
do.
Yeah.
The church, of course, Mount Healthy United Methodist Church, WNKU 89.7
Right.
FM
Yeah, I listen to
promotes
them all the
our
time.
performers. We had our art song summer concert series at the Art Museum, and for that concert series, Arts Wave gave us a grant of $1,500, and I want to thank them very much for that, and everybody who contributes to Arts Wave. Also, the Deering Banjo Company, which is also known as the Great American Banjo, donated one of their Good Time open back banjos to us to raffle during our last summer concerts, and we raised $1,375.
Wow.
And the winner is going to teach his grandson how to play banjo.
Great. Great.
Yeah, and as far as these, what Chris just said, those are our sponsors. Also, I'd like to mention a special thanks really to Pam Temple.
Yes.
She is the host of The Front Porch on WNKU.
Sure.
Pam is a member of the Balladeers, has been a hardworking member for many years, and she also mentions the Balladeers activities on her programs on NKU. So we're quite happy, and we're really grateful to Pam. I want to say thank you to her.
We also have one other sponsor. We had our first ever Kids Song Children's Concert this past summer, and the Greater Cincinnati Foundation gave us a $450 grant from their Summertime Kids program to support that.
Well, I want our viewers to also know that that you are a 501c3 nonprofit organization,
That is
and
correct.
that's what is known as Americana music. This always.
Well, Americana music,
Mike.
actually it can take a lot of different forms. The way I like to think of it is the old-time music, the original music, was, you could call it country music, you could call it hillbilly music, you could call it a lot of words for it. But music that arose out of that, it's folk music, it could be bluegrass, it could be country, it can be old-time hillbilly, mountain music, all that kind of stuff is Americana
Wait,
music.
are you allowed to use that word, hillbilly?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And well, some people are actually proud of that term of being called a hillbilly. Other people
Last
may
time
not
I
be.
used that, I almost got slugged.
Okay.
Cowboy music.
Cowboy music.
Well, cowboy
exactly.
music I can buy. Yeah,
Cowboy
I can buy.
music, Western swing. I mean, there are so many, and I like to call them. It's country music and all of its country cousins. And those are the kinds of music, the little sub-branches of music that you could call Americana music.
So in other words, this goes back into, back into our basic history of the country.
Well, it really does.
Yeah,
Right.
if you stop and think about
It
it.
really does. The music of Stephen Foster from back in the early 1800s, the music of William Shakespeare Hayes, who was a songwriter back in around the 1870s, 1880s, back in then. And that's all Americana music. That's the original American music. Into the early 1900s, before records really started being made and before radio. You know, radio, the first commercial radio station went on the air in this country in 1920. And then, you know, records sort of took off from there. But things developed, but the music was always there, and people played it. There was only one way to hear it, and that was live.
That's
That
right.
was live. Somebody might have a fiddle or a banjo, and they would play for barn dances and church suppers and things like that. It's the only way you could hear the music. Yeah.
And even that music had older roots. You know, the ballads that came over from England and Scotland and Ireland.
Exactly.
And everyone who came over contributed, you know, whatever background they came or countries they came from.
Well, I'm sure that they brought over a lot of their folk music
They did.
when they came to the United States, you know, and you know, that just, of course, grew and grew and grew
Right.
along with what we had over here. That sounds great.
Exactly.
Are there any artists who fit in the roots, quote, roots Americana umbrella range that you guys have got? I mean, any people that I would know, our viewers would know, that are well known, that are the Americana type artists?
We have artists in the club in the Queen City Balladeers. You may not know who they are, but they very much play that kind of music. But there's folk music. Let me mention one of my favorites is Tim O'Brien. You know, he's a musician. He's Nashville based. But there are bluegrass people. There are country music people. There are folk music people. There's a lot of people in this country who play that type of music. I mean, and they may be better known, but we've got a pretty nice little group right here at home.
Well, Iris DeMent would be
Iris
one
DeMent's
that's
a good one,
nationally
yeah.
known.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I said that is because in reading material about QCB, I saw where there's a lot of names in there that I recognized. You know, Joan Baez, the Carters, all these kind of people, you know.
Yeah, Joan Baez was an honorary member, actually. She was
I
awarded.
think she still is.
I think she still is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we awarded a membership card. Way back in the '60s, John Denver came into town, and he was. And I actually was at that party where he was at someone's house and down someone's basement, and. John Denver and he was part of the Mitchell Trio, is actually what it was called. It used to be the Chad Mitchell Trio. Chad Mitchell left, and John Denver was the replacement, and that was his entrance, I guess, into the world of folk music. He got famous from there. But people like that, like John Denver. But but there were people around. You know, Pete Seeger was a good one, and he only passed away recently.
Graham Parsons.
Graham Parsons, that's right.
You know, well, I'm thinking of, as like I say, I when I read the material and seeing some of the names of the people that are part of the Americana situation in these events, it's really important for people. I know that the real young people are not going to remember these names.
No.
But quite a few of them do. This gentleman, Mike Oberst, he's a member of the Tillers, a local Americana band, a roots band. He writes his own songs, but he's quite aware of his roots. It amazes me how much he knows. And this gentleman, John Ford, is a traditional blues singer and songwriter, and he actually recorded this album in room 14, where Robert Johnson, the blues musician, recorded his songs back in the 30s.
You know, while we're on this, Chris, you've got some books here, and I notice there's some really interesting titles on here. Let's just say, well, I'm just going to throw a question at you here. I want to teach my great-grandchildren about folk music and Americana and everything else. Is there any material that I can get, and is it here on the table?
Yes, the first song I would get would be called the Rise Up Singing Songbook. Okay. And this is, Rise Up Singing was, I believe, something that Pete Seeger started.
He did.
And it has just every kind of song in it. Mountain voices, songs about play songs for children, songs about creativity, ballads, spirituals, from the olden times up through the modern day. Very easy for
kind
children
of runs
to
the
learn.
gamut, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And one thing you can say about that too, that book is published by Sing Out Publications, and it's a nonprofit. It's a 501c3,
Okay.
And they are dedicated to preserving folk music, Americana music, and keeping it alive. And so that's who the publisher of that is. It's all nonprofit.
Okay. Then you have American ballads and folks and so on and so forth. Now the question I have, Chris, is how do I get a copy of this? Where do I find a copy of this? And so on and so forth.
Well, this book, American Ballads and Folk Songs, and this book is Carl Sandburg's The American Song Bag. These are all available online, all three books.
Okay.
Alan Lomax, back in the 30s, went and...
Actually, his father started before him.
John
It was John
Lomax.
Lomax, and then his son Alan Lomax.
Okay.
They were folklorists, music collectors.
Song
and
catchers.
Song catchers.
Okay.
That's a good word.
Okay. So, but these can also, I'm sure you can find these in bookstores
Yes.
too, can't
Yes, you
you?
Yes.
can. Yes,
Yeah,
you can.
okay. Well, that's, maybe I'm sure the public library would have those, wouldn't they?
Oh, definitely. They
Oh,
absolutely-
yeah. I
absolutely
mean,
would
you
have
know,
those, yeah.
they got every other kind of book. I'm sure they'd have
That's right.
these.
That's right.
Okay. What is QCB's primary event? Do you have a primary event each year, something that stands out more than anything else of all your coffee house programs?
Well, our coffee house programs are a prime event in that they take up most of the year. So if you really want to learn about folk music, if you want to learn to play an instrument, if you want to hear local artists, go there. For example, April 8, who's a local modern family folk musician who does children's concerts, is going to be performing on September 7th, plus a Celtic band. But the Art Song Summer Concert Series, which takes place every Friday in July, is just celebrated its 50th anniversary. And that is usually, it's a free concert with 5 acts per concert. We had over 1,000 people attend last year. And
Wow.
They were just wonderful. They were a lot of fun.
Boy, that's great.
We used to be, with those particular concerts, it was called Eden Song, and we were in Eden Park, the big band shell.
I've heard of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and we did that for, what, 48 years. And then we decided to move into the art museum, still Eden Park, but we changed the name to Art Song.
Sure.
And we moved inside, well, for various reasons. Some of us are getting older, and it's hard to lift all that heavy equipment, and boy, oh boy.
Plus rain and
Plus
100-degree
rain
weather and musicians.
And humidity and storms
Yeah.
and everything.
Well,
so we found
musicians,
a new home for these summer concerts.
That's the reason I always, when I played anything, it was a penny whistle. You know, one of those. They're very light and
There you
very
go.
easy to handle. You don't need much breath to,
Absolutely.
make mistakes. Does QCB sponsor or assist with other local music events? I mean, do you join in with some of these other outfits that may put on a program?
Well, this past summer we had our first ever Kids Song concert.
Oh.
And we want to grow that into a program where we can go out into to communities and organizations that are interested in having their children learn about folk music. We actually have a house band, and Chuck plays bass and I play drum poorly. And we teach children folk songs and dance.
Well, that's great. And this is something new that you're just starting up, are you? Oh,
Yeah, and also organizations who might want to have somebody come and play a little music, schools, fairs, festivals, well, we're available for that.
okay, great. Here's a biggie. What is QCB's motto? Everybody's got a motto.
Our motto is, it's all about the music.
That's the motto.
And you know where that came from?
No.
I used to write the newsletter for the organization, and I thought that up and put it in there and started putting
very
it in
good.
the newsletter. So
Very
that's where it
good.
is. But that speaks to our overall purpose. It really is all about the music.
Okay. What is QCB's eventual goal? What is your goal, period, for this wonderful group?
Well, our goal for the group, and we've had some success in this, is to engage young people of all ages, and by young people I'm saying anybody younger than us, and that could mean people age 50.
Wait a minute, is she trying to tell us that
I'm
we're old, Chuck?
sort of
Is that-
getting a message here.
I'm getting a message.
Jan,
Okay,
I
go
think.
ahead.
But anyway.
That this music is very valuable and it needs to be part of our lives. A 2003 study by the University of Florida found that folk songs are no longer being taught in schools. And what we learned is now being replaced by popular, song lyrics from a pop tune, and teachers will set words to that. I've talked to many teachers who say that the folk songs they used to teach are no longer anywhere in the curriculum. So these children are not learning the music that is the history of their country and the history of their ancestors.
So our main goal is we want to keep that alive. Call it folk music, roots music, Americana music. We want to keep that alive into the future and bring in new people and just keep it going.
Well, the thing of it is when you talk about history and everything else, that just bugs me to no end that some of the younger people today don't know anything about our American history, period.
Yeah.
Because for some unknown reason, they seem to wipe that out of the curriculum of the school.
Right.
And it really upsets me to no end. And music is part of our country. Music is part of our lives. And it's not being taught. I'm on your side. I just wanted you to know that.
Well-
Okay, how can the viewers, now comes the volunteers, How
Good.
can our
All right.
viewers get more information about QCB?
I think the best place, again, is to go to our website, www.queencityballadeers.org,
Okay.
and also to come to the Leo Coffee House. You'll meet a bunch of friendly, wonderful people who are happy to volunteer and very welcoming. We had some visitors from New Orleans last year, a
Whoa.
family, and they looked around and they checked in, and the gentleman who is the father said, "You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of Preservation Hall,
There you go.
where you're
In
passing
New Orleans,
the
yeah,
music
sure.
down."
Been there, yeah.
And as far as the volunteers are concerned, we need people to help set up chairs at the beginning, to take them down, put them away at the end.
Haul the heavy equipment.
All the heavy equipment to help put out coffee and tea and snacks and all that kind of stuff.
All right, we're going to have to wrap up. So I'm
Okay.
going to give you each a minute to go. Chris, I'll start with you. What do you want specifically for our viewers to keep in mind about this organization?
I want our viewers to keep in mind that this organization is fun. It is a wonderful group of friendly people who care about each other and care about the music and care about the future of the music.
Great.
And I want
Chuck.
people to know that Chris is absolutely right. It is a lot of fun, and we want people to become involved. Come and volunteer, listen to the music, play the music, and help us keep this music going forever, really, after we're gone. I don't think we're going anyplace in the meantime, but we do want people to help keep it going into the future.
Great. Well, I want to thank our guests for being here today and, of course, discussing this fantastic program that I think our viewers should get involved with, because I think what they're trying to sell is not going to cost you anything but your talent. As Chuck pointed out, we all have a voice, and that is an instrument. And on behalf of the volunteers here at Waycross Community Media, I want to thank them for being here, because without them, these programs would not be possible. And if you're interested in becoming a part of Waycross Community Media, please call us at 825-2429. And this is Jan Apro. Until next time.
It's been 10 long years since I left my home in the hollow where I was born, where the cool fall nights make the woods smoke bright and the fox hunter blows his horn. I fell in love with a girl from the town. I thought that she would be true. I ran away to Charlottesville and worked in a sawmill too. What have they done to the old home place? Why did they tear it down?